Joining us now on the show is a truly inspirational figure. After a battle with depression, he's been cycling all over Europe to raise awareness of mental health and is on a mission to reduce suicide rates around the world and help people find a path to happiness. And right now, he's in the middle of a 200-mile walk from Batley to Edinburgh in honour of the late MP Joe Cox. Live from the road, please welcome to the show Tartan Explorer Josh Quigley. Hello, Josh.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. How are you guys?
Oh, very well. Thank you very much.
Not bad, not bad.
So tell us what got you started on this journey.
So around about 2015, I went through a really dark period in my life, was suffering mainly with depression, and had a really intense 6-month period where I was just really suffering quite badly. And I've been thinking about suicide quite a lot. And then one night on the 26th of May, 2015, I just was pushed past breaking point and just thought, you know what, I'm actually going to do it. I went out in my car and intentionally crashed it about 80 miles an hour into a concrete barrier and attempted suicide. The next day, woke up in hospital with no physical injuries at all, no cuts, no scratches, not even a bruise. And I just knew something kind of special had happened. And I never knew why, but I just felt like there was a reason I'd been kept alive. And a few months later, I came up with this idea that I was going to try and cycle around the world. So that really is the backstory and how I kind of got started on the journey.
Wow. I've heard your activities and your journeying recently described as finding a path to happiness. What does that really mean to you?
To me, what happipiness means, I'm not sure if you'll get this, but there's a saying in Scotland about feeling pure, dead, brilliant. And so basically, that's what happiness means to me. Happiness is essentially just feeling good. Like, how good do you feel? I think it's really quite simple. I think we could spend hours and hours actually debating what happiness actually is. But the thing I would rather talk about is actually how do we create it. So for me, happiness is feeling great, and then it's all about how do you actually create the conditions within your mind and within your life to actually help happiness exist.
How did you make it through so much cycling?
It was actually very simple because I just was in so much pain, and there was one time where I was pushed past breaking point, like a few months after the suicide attempt, where I just thought, you know what, I refuse to feel this way anymore, and I just knew that I had to find happiness. So it was like happiness or death, basically. That was it. I knew I was going to end up attempting suicide again if I never actually sorted myself out. So it was just, I had this huge burning desire for happiness within me, and I just went out there and thought, like, how the hell can I get this? What can I do to get happiness? So that was it. I think when I say to people a lot is that you will overcome depression, you will overcome unhappiness when your desire for happiness is greater than the strength of that depression. See, when you want it more than anything in the world and you desire it more than anything, you will find a way to get it. That's my belief anyway.
Building on that, what was the most scenic place where you pitched your tent?
There was a lot of nice places. I've done 14 countries around Europe.
Wow.
But I'd have to say that Norway was probably the country that was my favourite in terms of scenery. I think one of the reasons why I liked it so much is because it was very similar to Scotland, actually. A lot of the west coast of Scotland was very similar to Norway. The way I used to describe Norway to people was that Norway is basically just Scotland on steroids. It's just like a much bigger Scotland, but it's just incredible. Some of the fjords and the mountains and the scenery in Norway was just out of this world.
Well, that probably does explain why in slightly more ancient history, the Nordic people tended to find themselves trying to invade Scotland quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, I've been following along your journey online, and it's been epic. And I know that you post a lot of pictures with people that you met along the way. So, as you were doing your journey, did you find that people that you met along the way were really willing to help you out and really interested in what you were doing?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just really all about people. So when I left Scotland, my whole life I'd lived with my parents for 23 years, never even lived in a flat at university. And then got on the bike, cycled out in my front garden, and for 9 whole weeks I was hosted by a different family every single night, from Scotland all the way to Sweden. And wow. In total, I was hosted over 200 times by families in 14 countries. And probably the best story out of all of that was a couple that I stayed with in Copenhagen. They hosted me when I was cycling through Denmark, and we kept in touch and became really good friends. And they actually invited me back to their wedding. They got married just earlier this year. So I went back to Copenhagen for their wedding, and they've just now had 2 baby girls, twin girls. So I'm going back to visit them again, the girls. So yeah, just there's some amazing stories like that, and that's just one out of like hundreds.
Oh, that's really lovely. What a fantastic story. Kind of moving away from the cycling, you've been walking recently too, haven't you? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I'm currently taking part in a challenge called the Great Big Walk, which is a couple 100-mile walk from Batley in West Yorkshire back home to Edinburgh. So there's an event this Sunday called the Big Lunch, which you may have heard of, which is basically the UK's biggest get-together, and it's just basically trying to encourage people to get into their communities and have lunch with their neighbours. Like, that's really simple, the idea that it is. There's about 7 million people taking part last year, and we're expecting about 10 million this year, so it's just an incredible event. And what they've done this year for the first time, it's been running since 2009, is they thought, let's organise a big walk where we'll have 5 teams of people coming down to Batley, West Yorkshire, and walking home in time for the big lunch. Basically building up an appetite for the lunch, which is going to be the Sunday. So the reason that we started in Batley, West Yorkshire, is because that's the constituency of Joe Cox MP. Yeah. And Brendan Cox, Joe's husband, is a big part of the Joe Cox Foundation, and they were involved with a thing called the Great Get Together, which takes place this weekend, which is again just trying to encourage people to get into communities and surround themselves with people and their neighbours. So we went down to start in Joe's constituency, which was quite nice for us actually, and it just felt quite emotional actually doing that, just being down there where it all happened. And I think that Joe did famously say that we had more in common than that what divides us, and I think that that's really out. So over the last 3 weeks we've been walking through towns and villages and stopping in at community projects and meeting some of the amazing people in this country who are doing great work in their community, because I think that 99% of the people in this country are great, amazing, loving, kind, caring people. But somehow there's like this 1% of us who are maybe not so nice, but it's all we seem to talk about and all we hear about in the media. So I think it's been nice to try and shine a light on all the good that's going on, and that's really what the Great Big Walk's about. And so we're actually on the last day today. We're in Queensferry in Edinburgh, and we're just about to walk into the city where we'll end the walk, and just in time for the big lunch on Sunday. So yeah, it's been incredible, and it's been a wee bit different for me because I'm used to cycling. It's a whole different type of fitness. I think everybody thinks that just because I've cycled so much that the walk would be really easy, but it's completely different. You're using different muscles, but it's just been an amazing experience. I think being used to doing solo challenges, spending a year cycling in Europe and doing a lot of camping on my own, I've been surrounded by people on this one, and there's 4 or 5 hours walking. It's just been, it's been incredible, and it sounds a bit cliche, but it's been a life-changing experience for me, and I think it's going to influence what I do in the future on the bike and on feet.
That's wonderful. Really, really amazing to hear that, and we all are huge fans of that whole initiative, and I love a good lunch as well. So the idea of the lunch on Sunday is very appealing. I don't think I've ever walked for 200 miles to work up an appetite for lunch before. What are you looking forward to eating the most after 200 miles of walking?
It's a good question. I'll be back in Edinburgh, so maybe something a wee bit local. We're walking through England, so I'll maybe treat there's a few English boys on the team, so maybe treat some of them to some haggis when in Rome.
Lovely. Well, thank you for taking the time while you're on your walk to join us. It's really cool. Do you have any advice for people who might be listening who are also battling with depression?
Yeah, just maybe a few things I could say. The first thing that I would say is that it's okay to feel the way you're feeling right now. There's nothing wrong with having depression or not feeling happy. It happens to so many of us. So the first thing to understand that you're not the only one, and there's so many people out there doing it. The second thing to say is probably you have to have hope. You have to believe that it will change and things can get better. If you don't have any hope that it will get better, then the truth is it will never happen. And probably the third and final thing that I would say is that once you understand there's other people out there who feel like that and that you can change, is that you have to go out there and do it. A huge part of my message is personal responsibility and people taking action. The only reason I managed to make a recovery in the way I did is because I did actually make huge changes in my life. I used to be drinking a lot at the time. I never exercised. I didn't really do anything proactive to look after my mental health. Now, like, my number one priority in life is my own health. I spend a lot of time exercising, eating well, make sure I'm reading, doing things like mindfulness and meditation. So I think there's so many things out there that can help you, but I think you do sometimes have to go out there and put the work in, because it's not going to just happen on its own. So I try to give people a nice message of hope and say you can do it, but I think also at the same time you have to understand that you want to make changes in your life. It is going to take hard work, but I kind of say that hoping that people will feel empowered. Yeah, that's probably my message for anybody out there.
And what about our listeners who maybe haven't experienced this, but would love to help?
Yeah, I think something I actually say a lot, I do some public speaking, and I say that if you've never had depression, then you're probably never going to understand it. I think you just have to accept it. but I think you just have to do your best to try and put yourself in the person's shoes. And I think it's just all about showing people that you care and that you're there for them. Just like, you don't underestimate the power of a simple hello. Like, I've heard of stories of people. There's an organisation in America called the First Hello. And it's basically just about encouraging people to say hello to other people. Like, when you're walking down the street and you see someone walking past you, just even smiling at that person, like, you don't even know them, that can have such a huge impact on someone else's life. You don't know what that person's going through in that moment. That person could even be on their way to end their life. And you just saying hello to them could actually make them feel like, you know what, there's actually people out there that care about me. So I think that it's all about just trying to understand as best as you possibly can, and also just try to show love and compassion, basically. I think that's it.
And should we all get on our bikes and try to cycle the globe, having done it yourself?
The answer is no. This is a big part of my message. I think that what I try to do is, like, the kind of person I am, I've always been very ambitious. Come up with ideas that are going to be things like cycling around the world, or running around the world, or walking around the world. But for everybody else, it's not about that. I don't want to make people think like they have to do that. All I want is somebody who's got depression and who's sitting listening to this and they've never cycled a bike in their life. I don't want them to think they have to go and cycle around the world. What I want them to do is to actually think, do you know what? Could I maybe cycle 10 miles to my work, 5 miles there and 5 miles back? Could I do that? Could I actually join the gym and exercise 3 times a week and start to feel a wee bit better? Could I pick up that book that might change my life? It's just little small things like that. I think one of the problems in society is that people never take the first step. They're scared. I get asked a lot, like, Josh, I'd love to do what you do. How did you do it? Like, how did you start to even try and cycle around the world? And I say, it's actually very simple. I got a bike on it and I started pedaling. It really is that simple at times. I think people think that these things are so hard and difficult, but you really just have to start. I think people don't take the first step because they're scared of failing. And my kind of whole belief in failure is that all I ever try to do is try. Like, when I was trying to cycle around the world, it wasn't about cycling around the world. I was trying to cycle around the world. And that's the thing, you can never fail, and all you try to do is try. When I started my cycle, the goal was, can I cycle around the world? I got 10,000 miles in 14 countries later and decided to come home. But when I started the cycle, I was majorly depressed. I thought about suicide every day. And when I came back, I was incredibly happy, I was healthy, I had a huge appreciation for life. So how could that ever be a failure? It's impossible to fail, because you either succeed in what you try to do, or you just learn a ton about yourself. So just go for it. Don't be afraid to take the first step. It's always the hardest one. Once you've done that, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth come very easy.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We really appreciated your words of wisdom, and wish you the best of luck with your continued walk. Now, to get you pumped up for the remaining few miles of the walk to go, is there a song that we can play for you?
Well, given what I'm doing today, it's got to be the Proclaimers' 500 Miles.
We will play that song for you gladly now. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
Good luck.